welcome to Northrop on the Short Porch. I'm here this evening with Chris. Chris, tell us how we can find you, what your handle is on X and the other places.
Yeah, Chris, really appreciate you having me on. Chris_NYY28 is the handle on all my social media platforms. So that's where you can find me and my podcast and stuff that I'm doing. So it's great to be joined, but it's great to be on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. And don't forget to like, subscribe today, and also go in search of Chris after the show. Make sure you find his podcast. It's always interesting. I want to thank the chat very much for showing up. You guys are amazing. Of course, I am somehow still stuck with the Yankified background. So thank you for putting up with that too. There is a background for me, but I can seem to access it. And with any luck, Tats will join us and maybe he'll fix it. But in the meantime, let's get started. Taking a real quick look at the chat. Want to welcome you guys in. I see that one of the things people are really kind of hitting on right away is Judge's comments. I wasn't going to start with that, but I think we will since it seems to be on people's minds. Judge seemed to say yesterday that there was a lack of focus for the team. Chris, what do you think about that?
I think it's really interesting to hear Judge say something like that for a few reasons. I think the first one is Aaron Judge is the captain. Ostensibly, he's the captain of the Yankees. So, and I understand he's been rehabbing and he's been out a little bit with the rib injury, but you figure Aaron Judge would be someone who could help the team stay focused in a bad stretch. And for Aaron Judge to say that is interesting because is his message not getting across to his peers, to his teammates?
Right.
Is it a shot across the bow? I don't think this is the case, but is it a shot across the bow with the manager, Aaron Boone, that his message is maybe not getting through to the players? Very interesting to hear the captain of the team who has a lot of influence on what's happening in the locker room say that there's a lack of focus.
Right, because Judge is not one to speak out. He's in the Jeter mold. He took his lessons from the elbow of Jeter, and he doesn't speak out very often. So to hear him say that, even though it's, such a mild comment, I mean, a lack of focus, these guys, I mean, that would be what I would say is the least of their problems, is the lack of focus. The problems that confront this team right now on a 7-game losing streak are much larger than that. So I think Judge, it's good that Judge speaks out, I suppose, so the fans know he's still alive. But as far as Judge having any effectiveness, he's never going to be a spokesman, like, come out ranting or anything like that. That's just not the Judge way. So
not his style for sure.
Not his style at all. It sounds like lip service, Healing Men's Heart say, and I think that's probably what it was for the most part. Okay, let me see if we have any other comments up here we need to take a quick look at. I think we can just jump in. The Yankees, we're talking tonight about the June Boone Swoon, and people don't believe, or they do believe. It depends, I guess, on your perspective, but there certainly is a swoon of some kind happening. Now, Chris, what side of the coin do you fall on? Is there a swoon or no swoon?
I think it's a swoon, but it's not a June swoon.
Okay, I was going to say, is it June or not June?
It's very interesting. Someone from I want to give the person credit. Someone who was in my live stream the other day gave a stat, and I thought it was really interesting that since 2023, the Yankees are 145-88, which is a winning percentage of .622 in the months of March, April, and May. However, in the months of June through August, the Yankees are 123-133, which is a .480 winning percentage. So clearly the swoon, if you will, is not a June swoon. It's really in the middle of the season. And I think we've discussed maybe off air, you could even argue that their worst month is August over this stretch, or maybe even July. we've seen that, I think, over the past 3 or 4 years. And I think the point that I want to get across and that I think we can talk about is every great team, every team goes through bad stretches. Every great team is going to have a pullback. Every great team is going to go through a bad couple of weeks, even months that they're not great. I think where I fall in this, not even fall in the debate, what gets me every year is how fast and how just terribly they nosedive in a way. I mean, this team that was playing really good baseball, and now they're 3-11 in their last 14 games.
Yeah.
If this continues for another week, another 2 weeks, where does that put you in the American League East standings?
Right.
The Yankees have already lost during this 14-game stretch. They've lost 6.5 games in the American League East. Just like that. So the idea is, yes, every team goes through bad stretches. Yes, every team will inevitably struggle at a certain point over the 162 marathon that is a baseball season. But at some point, you have to say, these swoons are killing them in the American League East. And that's where I say it. These swoons last too long. They can't get out of it. And it ends up costing them the division. I mean, last year, they went through that really bad stretch in the middle of the season, and they lost the division on a tiebreaker. Not even by a game. They lost it by literally a tiebreaker, so one game. And that's why I think me and other fans complain about these stretches.
Right. You know, the Yankees have played 9 sub 500 months since 2018, and only 3 of them were in June. It's sort of an optics thing. The 2 worst by far were in August, and none of the sub 500 months occurred before 2021. So this is a point that I think that we can start to maybe focus on, is how much of this swoon is a Boone swoon, and not just a June swoon or whatever. So it's not statistically true that the Yankees swoon in June. But it is optically true because, like you said, it seems to me like one day the Yankees are atop the AL East there. They have an astronomical run differential. The pitchers are, locking it down. Everything's working. And it is amazing how fast, in my opinion, in the Boone years, the reversal has come, where suddenly they're not playing good ball. Of course, injuries have a lot to do with that. No doubt about that. But most fans expect a team to play consistently good ball, at least consistently. If it's not good, at least it's passable, which is not what we've been getting lately. These extended stretches of bad play, both on offense and defense, I think have become a defining characteristic of 2020 Yankees baseball. And if that's a Boone thing, it's a Boone thing. And what does the swoon look like to me? They look unprepared. They look fundamentally unsound. And most of all, powerless to adjust, where there just doesn't seem to be a vision of how to correct, where to correct, where the corrections would be most beneficial or most productive. So that's kind of how I feel about the swoon. Whether it's in June or whether it's in July, I don't care. The optics of it are that the Yankees nosedive, and there doesn't seem to be anyone who can correct the ship.
Yeah, one thing we talked about off air, which I think was a great point that you made, is these stretches of baseball, you feel like they're never going to win again.
Right.
And yesterday was a great example of it, where it looks like the Yankees have the game really in the bag in the 10th inning. Like they get the bunt down. Caballero gets the bunt down. They have Oswaldo Cabrera up with a chance to win the game. All he has to do is basically put the ball in play, and the Yankees win. And he puts up one of the worst at-bats like I've ever seen. And I understand he's just coming off the IL and whatever. But it feels like even in these stretches, it feels like even when the Yankees have a game basically gift wrapped to them, here we go, we're going to give you the game. Yeah. They can't take it. So it's hard to believe. You mentioned the sloppy play, the defense. I think I saw a stat. I don't know. They have 12. I don't know if it was 7. I don't know what it was, but it was like 12 errors in their last 17 games or something insane. Maybe 17 errors in their last 12 games. Something just really wretched for the defense. And I understand that, a lot has changed in recent days and weeks because of the injuries. Trent Grisham being out has hurt the Yankees because they've had to move Caballero to the outfield. Caballero's not done a great job in the outfield. He's not a natural outfielder. He's an infielder. And you've seen him make mistakes in the outfield. And Jason Dominguez is playing every day. He's not a great defensive player. But it's not all on one guy. It's an entire operation failing.
I know.
Cody Bellinger Cody Bellinger and Ben Rice. Ben Rice was an MVP candidate 10 days ago. Now he can't hit the ball. Cody Bellinger is in one of the worst slumps that I've quite frankly ever seen him in his couple years in the Yankees. So with the Yankees, it's hard to describe. I think when you say, who to put it on, I think it's a cop-out answer, but it's a mix of both. It's the manager's fault for continuing to perpetuate the same thing every single year. And I think you mentioned it, not adapting his approach. I think Aaron Boone's approach is the same every day. And I think that's good in certain times. But in times like this, I think it hurts them. And then you have to look at the management. You have to look at, everybody this year. The big talking point was this is the best depth the Yankees have had in years.
Right.
Well, apparently not, right? Because they've relied on the depth and it was good for about a week. And now we're seeing the depth really struggle. And you look at their lineup and you're like, how could they win with this group? Well, the reality is this is the depth. Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez. This was the depth that they built, and it has struggled. It has failed them.
Yeah. And, the Tigers were 12-28 on the road when they rolled up into Yankee Stadium this week. I mean, and they swept us in a 3-game series. 12-28 on the road, and we can't beat them in Yankee Stadium. Pedro Martinez said on X that he said, it's hard watching the Yankees tonight, a team that's supposed to be the number one contender to the LA Dodgers. I mean, when even Pedro is sort of feeling for the Yankees, it's bad. I mean, sure, injuries are certainly dragging the club down. And I made this comment on in a Facebook group, which is a cesspool. Let me just say this. Facebook groups are a cesspool. And I put out there into the universe this idea that Volpe was recalled on about, like May 12th. Judge was likely already suffering that rib injury when Volpe came up. Either that or he was about to. I know I could have looked it up when he got hurt, but I did not. But he'd been noticeably struggling before that. And I contend that it was the combination of Judge going down and Volpe coming up that really started the tumble because into what has become a miasma. Because just bringing Volpe up ended up changing the positions for Caballero, who was practically leading the shortstops on the leaderboard. We lost that. He's been rotated around, and as have other players on a carousel, and to our dismay. This experiment has not worked, moving Caballero. He's not a utility player. You cannot stick him in right field and then, he's just not going to work there. And I think that's been proven. So I don't know. It seems to me that the problems with the team and the nosedive started with that, with Judge going down and Volpe coming up, and the defensive substitutions that ended up happening as a result of that. What do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I think you said a lot of good things there. I mean, I think one thing that I would say is, Caballero really was brought here to be a utility player. Like if you look at his time in Tampa, he didn't have a position in Tampa. He played all around the field. And I believe when he came to the Yankees, I think he might have made that error in Miami last year where the ball went under his glove. I think that might have been him. He came to the Yankees and he was playing all over the field. He was playing a little bit of outfield. He was playing a little bit of infield. I think that's how the Yankees envisioned him kind of contributing. But what I will say is this. The Yankees need to figure out who is going to be the shortstop the remainder of the season, and they need to play that guy at shortstop. I personally don't see how it's Volpe. So Volpe, in my opinion, needs to be moved off of shortstop. Whether you want to send him down, I don't know what you do.
Right.
But this idea that, like, if you believe internally, Caballero's the shortstop, and look, there's a George Lombard angle that we could talk about, who's in AAA. But if the Yankees believe Caballero is their shortstop in October, Caballero tomorrow night against the Twins should be at shortstop, and he should be at shortstop the remainder of the season until something changes with the deadline or whatever. Stop playing a guy at shortstop who you don't believe is going to be the shortstop long term.
Right.
And I think a big reason this swoon began to happen, the Judge injury was a major part of it. I put on X yesterday, they can't overcome Judge injuries. This has been the case his entire tenure. The only year that they overcame the Judge injury was 2019, where Judge missed a lot of time with an oblique injury. And that team had depth that stepped up. Mike Talkman, Mike Ford, all those guys, Cameron Maybin. Other than that year, they cannot overcome Judge injuries. You look at 2018, they couldn't overcome it. You look at 2023, they really couldn't overcome it. They missed the playoffs. And this year, a similar stretch is happening. So at the end of the day, they can't overcome Judge being out. And I think a big thing that we need to mention is they have stopped being – one of the things I liked about this Yankee team was they were aggressive in their decision-making.
Right.
We're gonna DFA Randall Grichuk because we think we have a better option. We're gonna send down Luis Heel because we think we have a better option. They've stopped doing that, and I know a lot of people. It was viral yesterday on X. Were upset about Giovanni Cruz, the reliever, getting sent down. And there's clearly guys in the bullpen that are worse than Giovanni Cruz. Clearly, Duvall and Bird are basically unpitchable, and they're both in the bullpen still. And that's clearly the front office saying, look, we don't really care about the regular season. We're going to pitch Duvall and Bird because we traded for them last year at the deadline. Let's be honest. They invested in those guys at the deadline. They traded prospects to go get those guys. So we're going to stick with them. And they know Cruz will be there at the end of the year if they want to go to him. So that's what I'd point to. Way less aggressiveness in their decision-making the last month. And they can't replace Aaron Judge. That is the two biggest things. And the Volpe point is a good one because the Volpe thing got the defense. The Yankees went from a good defensive team to a bad defensive team.
Yes.
And it's not all because of Volpe, but it's because of the chain reaction that started when they moved Caballero off of shortstop. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And I think that on top of that, Bellinger, Rice, Caballero himself, they're all slumping in and of themselves. I mean, Rice has slowed down considerably. It looks to me like needs to adjust, to make some adjustments back. I think he had such a hot start that there was no way that was going to be allowed to continue. I mean, obviously pitchers were going to pitch him differently and get, make his life hell. He's got to adjust. He's got to do something more now. What that is, I don't know. But I mean, then we get into player development, which don't even get me started on that at the big league level. But, these guys have hit a little bit of a roadblock. Bellinger, at first, it was just his home road splits where, the road games were really what was dragging his numbers down. But now he's kind of not hitting at home. He's kind of leveled out where he's sort of overall slumping. So we need a lift somewhere. Where's the most likely place to get a lift for perhaps to kickstart this offense? Do you see anybody?
I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, they have some guys really struggling right now. You talk about the main guys. Austin Wells is having one of the worst catcher seasons we've seen from an offensive perspective. So I'm not sure you're really going to get it from him. Listen, Trent Grisham, they're going to be getting him back, I believe, tomorrow. for the Twins series. Grisham was
Yeah.
hitting very well before the injury to his
Yeah.
hamstring, so I think that's somewhere where you can look at it. But listen, they need Ben Rice and Bellinger to really step up because right now there's a lot of issues on this team offensively that are not going to be getting better. Because you look at the guys they're getting back. One of the guys are getting back, I think, Friday. I know he had food poisoning, but Ryan McMahon should be coming back as well.
Yes.
But Ryan McMahon's not helping. Ryan McMahon's not helping offensively.
No.
Ryan McMahon, is like a 630 OPS. He's not really a good hitter. He's going to help the defense massively at third base, massively. No debate there. He's going to help the defense a lot.
Right.
But not really from an offensive perspective.
No.
Ben Rice and Bellinger have to have a hot streak here for this team to start to take off again, because it's not going to really come from anywhere else. I mean, you're not going to get it from Wells. Volpe and Caballero, we understand what they are. They're mediocre hitters. Jazz Chisholm, I think, has been better recently. I thought he was very good yesterday in that game, kind of manufacturing that run that gave the Yankees a chance to win the game. But, Jason Dominguez has been fine. Like, they really need Rice, who was an MVP candidate, and Bellinger, who was having a great year. They need those guys to kick it into gear again.
Yeah.
And I hope they do, because that's, to me, where you're going to get the offensive production.
Right. They need to feast on, well, I was going to say they need to feast on some Twins pitching, but I was looking at the Twins pitchers, and it didn't seem to me like there was anybody really scary coming up.
No.
Just looking, it seemed like Paredes, Zebby Matthews, who I've never heard of, and Joe Ryan, who I do know Joe Ryan. Paredes,
and I think actually they made I was looking at right before we hopped on. I think they made an adjustment to their pitching. I actually don't think we're seeing Ryan.
Okay.
Right now, the guys that I'm seeing are Paredes, as you mentioned. Zebby Matthews is now throwing Sunday.
Okay.
And on the 4th of July, on Saturday, they're throwing a guy named Connor Pralip. I hope I'm saying that right. Connor Pralip, who's a left-handed pitcher.
Oh my God.
Paredes and Pralip. I mean, if the Yankees can't win this series, you might want to fold up shop.
That's what I'm wondering.
Paredes is a rookie making his 5th MLB start, and he has a 4.2 ERA.
Right.
Pralip is also a rookie. So the Yankees are facing 2 rookies to begin this season. Pralip, I believe, is making his 13th career start, and he has a 4.96 ERA on the year. And Zebby Matthews, not really a great pitcher. He's throwing the Sunday game. But if you look at these first 2 pitching matchups, it's Garrett Cole against Mike Paredes on Friday night. And then Saturday is Connor Pralip against Carlos Rodon. The Yankees should win both of those games.
We should.
They really should. They really should. They have no excuse not to.
Well, knowing the Yankees, they'll find excuses. They'll find some way not to win those games, but let's hope they do, because, going up against them certainly are, Cole Friday, Rodon Saturday, and the only one that worries me, of course, is Weathers on Sunday. But maybe, Cole, he's coming off that outing where I think he was frustrated with his own performance. I think he could, we could definitely see a hot Cole on Friday.
Well,
a focused, intense,
Mm-hmm. Well,
really,
he's got to kick it back into gear. His last 2 outings have been really poor. The Tigers outing was really bad, and I thought the Red Sox outing, he was fairly uncompetitive in that game. The first batter of the game, Yoshida hits a home run.
Yeah.
And I see someone in the chat, mentioning the Twins aren't a pushover anymore. And I agree with you. From an offensive perspective, and thank you for all the comments, everyone. This is great. But the Twins are not a pushover from an offensive perspective. I wrote these numbers down. They're 6th in runs scored. They're 11th in OPS in Major League Baseball. They're a talented offensive team, and they're led by Byron Buxton, who's finally stayed healthy this year. Buxton has finally given them basically a full year. Maybe he's missed 10 games, and he's got 25 home runs and a 900 OPS. So Buxton is a really
Right.
talented player, and the Twins are about 4 games under 500, which is not awful. And a big reason they're in that position is their offense. Their offense is good. But again, the Yankees should win this series. They have to win this series. If the Yankees want to avoid really nosediving here, they have to win 2 out of 3, because then you go to the Trop for 4 games.
Right.
And the Yankees have not played well in the Trop. You go back to the best teams in franchise history, they haven't played well in the Trop.
Right.
So if you lose this series, you are in big trouble. And I'm not trying to make too much of a July series. There's time, there's a deadline, all those things. The Yankees should absolutely win 2 out of 3 here. If they don't, you're in the midst of a swoon. You truly are, because you're facing 2 rookies. You have to win.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Yankees have a 1.127 batting average since last Thursday. They're last in the majors in that time frame. They're 5-79 with runners in scoring position since June 19th. I'm a little worried about the Twins series, but if they just some of these guys have to snap out of it. I mean, that's the only thing you can say. I don't think they can be coached out of it. You just got to hit.
No, listen, I agree with you. I don't think they can. Look. I was having this conversation with the person who came on my show yesterday, or Tuesday. Aaron Boone is not telling Ben Rice, "Hey, go get a hit here." That's not what the manager does. A manager can't play. It's playing, it's managing. What I will say, and I mentioned this on my show, was I believe it was the Tuesday night game against the Tigers, the school ball game.
Yeah.
Where Slittler got hit around, and they panned around the field, and they showed every single face of the players on the diamond for the Yankees. And Paul O'Neill basically said, I don't like the body language when I look at these guys. It looks like they're saying to themselves, "Here we go again."
Okay.
And the question I posed and that I have is, again, if Aaron Boone is going to just be like this, it's going to be the consistent this. If you keep doing that, then why are we going to expect a different result? It's Aaron Boone basically just saying, "I'm not going to change how I'm operating. I'm just going to go like this." And I think that's where the manager comes in. Where he doesn't come in is Ben Rice is slumping. That has nothing to do with Aaron Boone. It has zero to do with Aaron Boone. Anyone blaming Aaron Boone for the fact that Ben Rice can't get a hit, or that Cody Bellinger's in the tank right now, is insane. It's not on the manager. It's not. But the mentality of the group, that, well, this is just baseball. Ryan Weathers the other day saying, well, this is just baseball. This happens. If you oversee a culture where you say this just happens, this is just baseball, then the players are going to start to believe it. Well, we're going to go through a swoon and we'll come out of it at some point. There's no fire to be like, no, we're going to get out of it now.
Yeah.
And again, it's not football. You can't be like, we're going to go we're going to play harder. You can't play harder in baseball. No. But just the focus level that Aaron Judge mentioned, lock it in a little bit. And the Yankees are not doing that. So again, to your point, it's definitely not on the manager that Ben Rice is not hitting.
Right.
But there are things that the manager can do, and there are things that the players can do. It's on both.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say that, because I wrote a question: why is there such a disconnect between Boone-led team optics and the actual numbers? So, we came to the conclusion there wasn't really a June swoon. It's just bad optics. But why is there such a disconnect? Why is there, what is it about Boone that, I think for me, he doesn't give me a sense of confidence that he can pull the team out of a swoon, for one thing. But the fact that he's actually performing at a relatively high level just pisses me off. The fact
Well,
that Boone is
yeah,
actually not as bad as I think he is
mhm,
where kind of what I'm hitting.
yeah. I think that the thing that Aaron Boone does well is I
Yeah.
think his biggest blessing is his biggest curse. I think a big reason why the Yankees always find a way. Part of it is they have good players. Like Aaron Judge has
Oh, yeah.
won two of the last or three of the last four MVPs, something crazy. That's a big reason why they win games. But what I'll say about Aaron Boone is his biggest blessing is his biggest curse. He maintains a status quo. And I think that at the end of the day, at the end of the 162, that ends up 90 win team,
Yeah.
93 win team.
Right.
So it gets the team, I think, out of it in the long term. I think where my issue comes with Aaron Boone is it doesn't win them big games in October. His mentality, I think, is good for the 162. I don't think it's good for the sprint of October.
Right.
That is where I am with Aaron Boone. But I think the reason why the optics feel worse than maybe the results is part of it is they win 90 games in seasons where they go through these stretches. I mean, the Yankees have like 2022 to 2025, 4 years in a row. They've gone through these swoons. Maybe not in June, but it was in July. They've gone through a swoon each of those years, but they've still won 90 games. So you're watching in the middle of the summer and you're like, this team is horrible, but over the 162, they're winning 90 games. That I think is the biggest thing. It's not that they're
Right.
not swooning, they are, but they build up such a cushion early in the year that they're
Right.
able to still win 90 games. I mean, this team has had incredible starts to the season.
Yeah.
This year they were really good.
Yep.
2024 they were incredible.
Yep.
2022 they were on a 1998 Yankees pace for a while.
Oh my God.
For
I
the
know.
first 80 games, I think they were like 60-20.
Yeah.
So, if you're or 52-18 or whatever they were. So you build up that much of a cushion and then you nosedive, you still end up over the course of the year winning 90 games. I think that's
Right.
why the optics feel worse because the 90 wins don't come in a consistent way. There's
That's
very
true.
high highs and then very low lows. And I think that's what you see.
That is very, very close. I think too, for me, Boone, the things that bother me about Boone, he's inarticulate. When he speaks, you at the end of it, you're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it gives the appearance of being a puppet, of being fed, and not really knowing what the answer is or what he's talking about. But that I know that's not true. But it gives the appearance that he's not able to articulate whatever that vision is or whatever that solution for the day is. In the dugout, he's all savages in the box. But in the clubhouse, he's clearly not. He's clearly not riding these guys. They are lackadaisical. They don't play with. I don't. I mean, we can talk about the whole jazz thing. I think people probably beat that to death, but I don't think that that the players play with the respect for him that they should. I think so. I don't know. I don't know that he has a presence in the clubhouse like when he walks in, a hush follows over the room. More likely when he sits down it's a whoopee cushion. I don't know. I'm just
Right. I totally agree with that. I think he's a player's manager. And again, that could be a good thing. It could also be a bad thing. I think the players are very comfortable with Aaron Boone. I think that's why after every season, whenever there's a period of struggle, you hear players go to bat for Aaron Boone
yeah,
because he's their friend, he's their confidant. I don't think you need to be and maybe this is old school of me. I'm not really an old school person, but I guess this is old school of me.
yeah,
I don't think you have to be best friends with your manager. I don't think that's the relationship.
right,
I don't think people were best friends with Joe Torre.
right,
I don't think that's the case. And that's fine.
right.
You don't have to be best friends with your coach. I was listening to obviously the World Cup's going on right now, and I was listening to one of the US women's soccer players say, we won championships and we hated our coaches. I don't think you need to love your coach in
Right.
order to play well for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes people play well because they fear their coach or they fear their boss. So you want to do well because of that. I don't. Aaron Boone, I totally agree with you. I think it's a very I think he coddles a lot of these players. How could you debate that when you
Yeah.
look at the way these guys operate?
I mean, the rest days, that's another thing that drives me crazy. Players who get rest days who don't apparently need to me, I'm thinking, you're 22 years old. You can't play 2 games in a row. He never runs with the hot hand. That drives me crazy. If someone has then they're bound to be resting the next day. Uh, Player development, I think Boone, I don't know to what extent a manager has input on that, but I have take issue with with the development of young players, that position players, not pitchers, but just the position. When they come up, the player development sucks from at the big league level. There's no accountability from Boone. He doesn't hold anybody accountable. And his lack of communication, but this is overall with the Yankees about injuries. We never know what's going on with anybody. But I mean, that's true of every MLB team, I'm sure. There always going to be limited information about injuries. So those are my pet peeves about Boone, and why I think the optics are so skewed. It's like, how I think to myself, this man's successful. This man is winning 90 games this year, and then he does it, and it rather amazes me that he pulls that off. So,
Yeah.
all right. Now we're going to move into our final phase here. We want to talk a little bit about the trade deadline, and a little bit of a preview for Friday before we wrap up. As far as what the Yankees need, we know the biggest need has got to be a right-handed catcher. Am I crazy on that, or is there some other need that I'm not? What do you think, Chris?
I think they 100% need to get a catcher. I think that Austin Wells' days as the full-time starter have to be numbered. I mean, I think the Yankees know that. Now, again, I don't know if it's necessarily a right-handed catcher. The way the roster is constructed, they certainly could use a right-handed catcher, but I think they just need a starting catcher, a guy who they could put out there every day. Obviously, most of the options available are right-handed. Maybe Adley Rutschman is Adley Rutschman's a switch hitter, actually.
Right.
But I think they just need to get an upgrade there. I think that certainly would be my thought.
Right. And some of the names that are being tossed around, especially Ryan Jeffers, who's a Twin. So we'll get good eyes on him.
Well, he hasn't played. He hasn't played.
That's right. He's injured. I forgot that.
With the hamate bone injury. I
right.
don't think he's come back since then.
No, he hasn't. You're right. He's another hamate bone.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what his value is. Obviously, he was having a really good year. Right. But now what is it? What is his value? He's not played in 2 months or 6 weeks, whatever.
Are there other candidates?
Yeah, this is I think really what I want to kind of convey with the deadline. I think that the Yankees, and again, I don't have the answer. I don't know the exact player. Schoolball is the name that everyone will go to. I think the Yankees need to I think the Yankees need to take a big swing at this trade deadline. I think they need to try to make a big move. And the reason why I say that is I think they need to send a message. Front office wise, they need to send a message to these players that, guys, we're going for it this year.
Right.
Not we're making moves for next year. We're going to bring in this guy because he's got 2 years of don't worry about control. Don't worry about it. Go out and make a move that shakes that room up. And that says to everybody, not Monty for Bader like they did a couple years ago. Go out and make a real move. Go out and make a real ad and tell those players, you shouldn't be comfortable in your spot. Right. You could get replaced. And I just think if the Yankees do that, they'll create an environment that the guys understand this is our year to try to go win. Yeah. Because right now, it just looks like everybody's going through the motions. No one can be bothered with, we're playing, but it just looks like a bunch of guys that are just punching a clock. It's like, all right, gonna lose again today. It's like, get someone in there because look, these guys know, these guys follow who they get at the deadline. They understand the trade market and the trade game. And look, again, we talked about a pre-show. Hunter Goodman is a name with Colorado. I don't know if Colorado would give him up. He's having a huge year, 850 OPS. I think he's got 27 home runs. He's a catcher. He's got 3.5 years of control, so it's going to be a huge prospect package. I'm not sure that necessarily is going to happen. I'm not sure the Rockies would deal him. But, you look at a guy like C.J. Abrams. I think Abrams is interesting.
Right.
Abrams is not a good defensive shortstop, and I think that's something to consider. But what he is he's a really, really good offensive player.
Okay.
And I think you look at the struggles that the Yankees have had without Aaron Judge, they very well could need another bat.
Yeah.
And we've seen this in other postseasons where if Judge doesn't perform, the rest of the team just wilts. And they need more bodies, I think. They might need a big bat to come in that lineup and say, okay, I'm going to be a difference maker for you guys. And again, I don't know if that guy's out there. Abrams is a name. Goodman, I'm not sure they could get him. I see the comment about Ellie De La Cruz. Yeah, I don't know if Ellie De La Cruz is getting traded.
I don't think he's a catcher, is he?
No, he's not. But I don't even think it necessarily has to be a catcher. Like that's
no, it doesn't.
And that's why, like, the Skubal thing to me, like, yeah, I agree. It's not a glaring need. They have a lot of starters, but if the Yankees went out and got Skubal, I think that you'd feel like, okay, they're really going for it. And I think that in a way that would be comforting. In a way, it would be like, okay, we know that they're completely in it to win it this year.
Yep.
And I know it's not normally what the Yankees do. The Yankees don't normally go nuts at the deadline in terms of making these big splashes. They make a lot of moves at the deadline, but they don't normally get the biggest piece.
No.
This year might be the year to try something out of the box because, again, it just feels like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been saying all myself, go get Skubal. I mean, I don't care if he's a free agent next year. Go get Skubal. Let's light a fire under this team. Again, with the urgency, as you mentioned earlier, that they seem to show at the beginning of the season, where they really seemed like they had that feeling of urgency of let's get it done, let's go. I think definitely a big move has to be made. It has to be made to shake this team up. If it's not Skubal, it has to be someone else. But I mean, go get Arenado. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. I know he's not for sale, but attack the market and get somebody in here that makes the other players want to win as much as they do. Obviously, want to win. Yeah, so the deadline is going to be interesting this year, but again, it just depends on which Yankee team which Yankee front office shows up. We're not quite used to this new the urgency of the front office that they showed early, so I'm betting that they don't do any of those things and piss me off entirely. Yeah.
Well, now they're back to their kind of old ways with sending down Giovanni Cruz and just Anthony Volpe's the shortstop again, based on nothing, just based on we want to put him there. So we certainly will see. I mean, look, another name. Let me make this point. We mentioned this off air, and I thought it was something that is worth mentioning to people. The Yankees are going to have to, if they want to really make, I think, an impact ad at the deadline, they might have to shake a couple things up.
Yeah.
For instance, like you look at the San Francisco Giants, right? The San Francisco Giants look like a seller. One of the players that has been in the news for the Giants that they're going to sell is Luis Ariz, who I believe is playing second base for the Giants. Now, the Yankees have a second baseman. So if the Yankees want to go out and get Luis Ariz, what do you do with Jazz Chisholm? So you have to the Yankees are in a position where they have a lot of bodies that they've got a body everywhere almost.
Yeah.
And they've got to determine, do we want to change the way the team is kind of built?
Right.
And I think that's something that internally they're going to have to figure out. Do we believe in this team as currently constructed or do we think we need to make a big change?
Right.
And I personally am at the point where I would be okay with almost any move, because at this point it's like, try something different.
Yes.
You know, it's like, oh, we're going to run this lineup out there in October and they're not going to hit again. And then we're going to come back next year. And we're going to be like, well, they're June. You know, it's like, it's the same thing. So I would be open to almost anything.
I think that the Yankees, it seems to me that they get more conservative, that they've been so conservative at the trade deadline. I can't even think like of who they've acquired, like at the July deadline in recent years that, moves the needle. So if they did do something like that, it would be a real shot, across the bow that this is happening now. I don't know if I believe in this team that much. I don't know if whether or not I myself I say go get Scooble because I would love to watch him pitch every 5 days. Do I actually believe that acquiring Scooble would make this a World Series champion? And that's what I ask myself. What does it take to be a champion? And not just let's get in. And that's been the attitude. Let's get in. And then they're happy. They've been content with that.
I think a lot of, and look, I stand by what I said. I think they should make a move at the deadline. A lot of what the Yankees are missing, though, they can't find at the trade deadline, and that's the unfortunate thing.
Right.
And we just saw it with the New York Knicks. You know, I'm a Knicks fan and got to enjoy that championship.
Yeah.
They had something that you couldn't see. They had something that you couldn't, look at a spreadsheet and figure out.
Right.
They had the heart of a champion. Like, not to be corny, but they had that. And I think when you look at the Yankees, I don't think the issue, like overall, when they get everybody healthy and Judge and Stanton and all those guys, I don't think the issue is talent. I think the issue is they're just not a winning group. Whenever the moment is big, they come up small.
Yes.
And you could watch them in the middle of July and they could look like the greatest team of all time. But then you watch them in October and the moment is big and they don't come up big.
Right.
And I mean, perfect example is the Dodgers last year.
Yeah.
They were dead in that World Series, done. And the worst player, not to pick on the guy, the worst player on their team, Miguel Rojas, hits a home run. And they win a World Series because of it. That would be like Anthony Volpe in the ninth inning of the World Series. And we laugh because it would never happen. That would be like Anthony Volpe in the ninth inning of the World Series with 1 out, hitting a home run to tie the game in Game 7. They're winners. And as much as you might hate the Dodgers, they're winners. Like that right there shows you they're winners.
All right. Yankees, you're right.
And that's what this team really is missing. And you can't find that at the trade deadline. No. Because you go, even if you go get a big piece, it might not change that fundamental issue. And that's where I don't believe in this team. I believe in the talent of the team. I think that when healthy, this is a deep team. I think it's a diverse team. They lead the American League in home runs and steals. So you can't say it's all or nothing because it really isn't, because they actually, they run, they play the game, they run the bases. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a talent problem.
Right.
I think there's something missing from this team that, like, you see it with World Series teams. You saw it in the dynasty years. Like, they had guys that just found a way to like make winning plays, like Scott Brocious and Luis Soho. Like they had guys that just kind of stepped up. And I don't know if this team has that.
Yeah, and I think that the comment at Jay Snow rival or 8 rivals, that's what happens when you run back a team that wasn't good enough last year. And that's exactly right.
That's fair.
That's a fair comment. They ran it back. They told us they were going to run it back, and basically the results are in. It's swoon again. So, any final thoughts? I think we've covered everything that we could possibly cover for today. We've pretty much taken Boone up and down the the rails, so to speak. At least I have. I usually wear my Fire Boone T-shirt, but not. It wasn't clean today. I like to remind the folks which side I'm on the Boone question, because I don't think they're going to win a World Series with Aaron Boone as their manager. I think that it takes more than. I think it takes vision, and I don't think he has a vision. He's not a man with a plan. World Series managers are men with vision. Tory, I think about Joe Madden and the Cubs. You know, my God, the philosophy
We'll
that
talk about
Madden
it later.
has. You know, I mean, he's got like a real vision that he tells you about, and he's very clear about it. But Boone, again, rudderless, a team that's rudderless, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, listen, I can't argue with it. I can't argue with it. I'm not the biggest Boone supporter. I never have been. I hope as a fan that they win, and a lot of it is hope, and a lot of it is, like you said, they'll never win with Boone. Well, then what's the point of even watching? Because you know the outcome, and I feel that way too. And I go back and forth with it. I try to be optimistic, as much as some people on X would say I'm not optimistic. I try to be optimistic about the Yankees. But no, listen, I think that this next week is very important for the Yankees.
Yes.
Those are my final thoughts.
Yeah.
When you play Tampa next week, if you lose 3 out of 4 in that series, you are going to be 4 or 5 games out in the loss column entering the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And it's not insurmountable, of course,
right.
But that is a hole that they have to get out of.
Yep.
And God forbid you go to the Trop and get swept, the AL East could be over.
Yeah.
So this is a very important. It's obviously not over if they go out and they split that series or they win that series. It's not over. But the point is, this is a key week here for the Yankees. They need to lock it in, especially next week against Tampa. Those are 4 huge games.
You heard it here. Next week is a big week for the Yankees. There's no question these next few games. I want to thank you all for joining me in the chat. You guys are rock stars. You're just going. And I can't even keep up. I try to read and you amaze me. And Chris, thanks so much. Wonderful conversation. Come back. Join us again. And wear your pinstripes with pride. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and we'll see you X or wherever you find us on social media. Happy evening and go Yankees.